FM 94. Time to get on the phone with Styx's co-lead vocalist, Lawrence Gowan.
Hello, is that Paladin?
It is indeed. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well. I'm about 4 minutes late calling you, but that's because whenever I call you, Paladin, I got to get my hairdo together first.
Oh, and it begins. Yes, absolutely. Do you remember which one of those videos that I went gaga over about how awesome your hair was? It was one of the ones you posted on your Gowan Facebook.
Yeah, probably Moonlight Desires, the one that I did with John Anderson from Yes.
I just remember your hair was perfect. I was like, oh my God, I wish my hair looked just like that.
Yeah, well, that's the Werewolves of London effect.
Well, obviously, if you guys haven't heard me speak with Lawrence Gowan before, this is Lawrence Gowan, co-lead vocalist for Styx. And today, part of what I wanted to do was get into the fact that I don't think people truly appreciate in America what an amazing performer you are in terms of that you were a multi-platinum artist before you ever joined Styx in your own right, solo act while you were in Canada. I don't think people truly grasp that.
Well, not a lot of people in America know because my records weren't released there, but do run into some people, particularly along border areas where they would have seen Canadian television and our Much Music, which is the equivalent of MTV in the U.S., etc. And they were quite familiar with it. But you're absolutely right. For most people, when I joined Styx, which was 20 years ago, they assumed, oh, this was an unknown that was basically sitting in his basement waiting for the call. That wasn't the case, actually. I did have a long and, as you mentioned, Paladin, like multi-platinum records and several number ones. And really, it's because of that I wound up in Styx, because we did a show together and they saw the audience reaction to that in Canada. And from there, things, unfolded to where I ended up in the band.
I know you recently did at least one that I know of. Was it in Toronto, I think, with Suckerman?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Todd Suckerman is the drummer from Styx and has been since the mid-'90s. And, yeah, when I come and do my solo shows in Canada, I have Todd playing drums with us as well. We play a lot of the same venues here, solo act, that Styx play. So, for example, like Fallsview in Niagara Falls, that's a place a couple of years ago. Styx played 3 shows, and then a few months later I went in and played 3 shows there on my own. Mm-hmm. People here are quite familiar with it, but as far as the U.S. goes, associating myself with Styx is absolutely fine with me.
Yeah. I was very tickled. I printed off a post. This is from your Gowan Facebook page. If people don't know how to find you, you have a Lawrence Gowan Facebook page, and you have a just Gowan, and if they search for it, it's Gowan Official.
I'm glad you pointed that out. You see, because my solo stuff came out in the 80s, and as you remember, Paladin, it was like by law, you were only allowed to have one name in the 80s. I had to let one of them go.
Yeah, I'm a one-name guy. I get it.
That's right.
I totally get it. Well,
you obviously were subjected to that same law.
I was. In 1991, I was told to come up with a one-word smoking handle, or they were going to call me Dakota, like some guy that was using that name in New Jersey, and I thought surely I could do better than that. Fascinating story. But the post that I was tickled about, and I think the audience will find the humor in it, it says, happy to be playing in Baltimore, Maryland next January 26, 2019. This will be a return solo Gowan in Kilt Tonight performance. Just
correct.
He goes on to say, just myself with a piano, guitar, microphone, bass drum, and traditional Scottish attire. Looking forward to this night of bright stars and shiny new cars.
Yeah.
Are you truly going to be in a kilt?
Yes. You see, I was born in a country called Scotland.
I've heard of it.
Although I grew up in Canada, there's a strong Scottish-Irish background that I grew up in with my parents and the fact that I was born there. And it's amazing how wearing a kilt on stage, I do it in my solo shows. I don't subject the guys in Styx to that. But wearing a kilt on stage is kind of...
freeing.
It's very freeing, exactly. I think that's basically it. And as you know, the Canadian weather is such a good shot of cold air anywhere is very refreshing. You get some surprise ones with that outfit.
Well, am I assuming then you're wearing a traditionally Scottish then? Sans underpants?
That's the type of thing I leave to the audience's discovery. Quite honestly, at the ticket price, that might be too much show.
Cool. I won't bust your chops anymore. I think kilts are cool, man.
Keep going. I'm enjoying it.
The main reason that we're on the phone, I have 2 items that are Styx related that I wanted to touch on. One is, of course, the show coming up December 30th at Treasure Island Casino in Welch, Minnesota, which I and my girlfriend will both be at. So looking forward to seeing you. And I will pull out my opera glasses and see if I can tell how much your hair has grown since the the last time I seen you. Yeah, it'll be pleasant. And the other one, this is interesting. I'm not really sure why, but Terry dropped me a line and mentioned that you were going to be doing a thing on January 20th, The Mission from top to bottom. This is in Vegas?
Right. Yeah, thanks for bringing, those are the two most important things today, other than the kilt and the hairstyle.
Right.
In fact, we're in Minnesota on December the 30th, looking forward to that very much. And then mid-January, we play at the Palms in Las Vegas. So for people that know, the album Styx put out last year, The Mission, has done really well for us and really garnered a great reviews among the Styx faithful, and they are legion. So eventually we were asked over and over, are we ever going to do that album in its entirety? So finally we found the at the Palms in Las Vegas in the Pearl Theater, and of course will be a bunch of Styx greatest hits as well along with that, but that's really an occasion that we're very much looking forward to. So probably when we play for you guys on the 30th, we'll probably throw in a few more Mission songs just to kind of keep getting them under our belts.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually very fond of The Mission. Was your blazing piano bit that you did, what was that one called?
Yeah, that's called Key Dive, Khedive. That was, in real life, it's named after the ship that my dad served on in the Royal Navy in the Second World War. But Tommy really liked the name of that piece. I've been playing it on stage for about a year and a half or so, usually going into pieces of 8. And he said, we got to put that on the new album, and let's make the, some people might know The Mission is a concept record, and the name of the space capsule, the capsule that the crew are in, is called Key Dive, and so that's why that piece is part of the Mission story.
Another note about the Mission CD. You worked very closely with NASA, and you're wearing all those jackets with the NASA patches with different colors every night. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. And usually working in combination with your shoes, you accessorize so nicely.
Thank you very much. I've got a fresh combo of shoes and NASA-adorned jacket for the show in Las Vegas. I can't tell you about it until the pictures show up on social media.
Chartreuse, is it? And then...
Probably.
But where I was going with this is that there was a planet that NASA actually named Styx in your honor. Is that correct?
I am so glad that you brought that up. Yes, as we were making the mission, or just basically at the beginning of making it, we got a call from NASA, and they invited us to witness, it was July 5th of 2015, I think it was. There was a 9-year mission of a spacecraft known as the New Horizons. Basically, on that day, it arrived at planet Pluto. So we were in NASA, it was Tommy, myself, and Todd. The 3 of us were there, and we witnessed the pictures that were coming back. And then one of the NASA scientists came up to us, a guy named Mark Showalter, he's mentioned on the album, and he says, you know, we discovered a 5th moon because of this mission. We thought there were 4 moons orbiting Pluto, but it turns out there's a 5th one, and we decided to name it Styx. And that's why you guys are here today. So that was an amazing moment. Even as I tell it, I still can't believe that really happened. And then we were in the room as there are all these science. Some people might have seen this from the Jet Propulsion Lab when the spacecraft had arrived at Mars. Mm-hmm. You probably saw some footage of the scientists jumping up and down, all the people in the control room jumping up and down with excitement. It was like that, exactly like that on the day when we saw these pictures coming back, because what an astonishing feat that is. What an accomplishment to have something that takes years to actually have it go right. So we were there, and we got lots of pictures of the NASA people, and we walked away going, oh, wow, you know, there's a moon named after the band that we're in.
Very cool.
It's kind of insane, yeah.
It's awesome. I'm planning on playing a song in just a moment, and the version I have, I pulled off, I think it was the Gowan Greatest Hits album of Criminal Mind, and I was so moved. I love the song. My girlfriend found the song on her own before she knew I was into it, and we're both huge Styx fans, so it was quite fun. I got to play her all the different versions of it, the one with you and Styx and the Contemporary Youth Orchestra and all of that. Was very excited about that song, but you did that obviously as a solo artist long before you entered the band. But when you entered the band, according to the interview with Dan Rather, you had a choice to make between doing one song that you didn't particularly want to do, and then they suggested that you added Criminal Mind into the repertoire of Styx songs. Yeah. You want to address that briefly?
It wasn't really one song against the other. It wasn't that. It was just basically, I remember in the Dan Rather interview, for years people have wondered, and rightfully so, why the Styx don't play Babe. And I'd mentioned in that interview that Dennis DeYoung, I remember when I saw the band, he made a long and very impassioned and very interesting story about how the song came about for his wife. And I just said to the guys, I'll do it if you insist. I know it was a #1 song, but I think it's so associated with that story that it might be okay not to play it. And basically at that point, Tommy and JY and Chuck, they really wanted to focus on the rock side of Styx far more anyway, you know, and they really wanted to really let that be the guiding light of what we were going to do with my inclusion in the band. So suddenly Tommy's just said, well, listen, A Criminal Mind, why don't we just make that a Styx song? It sounds like something we could play anyway. And I thought, well, that would be great. So that's why occasionally you'll hear Styx do their version of A Criminal Mind.
I love it. And particularly Tommy's harmonies with you made it awesome.
Yeah.
And then the guitar solo, just incredible. The original version is nice, and I'll play that in just a moment. Sure. Before I go on, though, I just remembered one other thing about the other song that you guys traditionally hadn't played because it nearly destroyed the band.
Mr. Roboto.
Mr. Roboto. Now, I heard you guys added that back in.
Yes, we added it back in this past summer. We're on tour with Joan Jett. We wanted to add something different, and it's been under discussion for about 5 years. It's funny because in all my time in the band, I never heard Tommy J. Wychuck, I never heard them have anything disparaging to say about the song itself. As a band, apparently they had a really bad experience on that Gilroy Was Here tour.
Mm-hmm.
So that's unfortunate because I think the record's strong. I always had since I joined the band, but I thought, okay, they're so connected to that experience and how it kind of broke the band up for a number of years after that tour. They just don't want to play it. But so we said, finally, let's just give it a shot. The song has earned its place in history. It's been around for decades. Everyone knows it. And people shout it out at the shows. So why don't we just learn it? And if we don't love how we play it, we don't have to play it. So we spent a couple of days in a studio in a live soundstage in Nashville. And by the time we finished really hacking it out, we thought, this sounds really good. Let's play it. And audiences have been really, really loving it alongside all the other Styx classics. So I'm definitely enjoying the whole experience of Mr. Roboto.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it on December 30th when you play Treasure Island Casino in Welch, Minnesota. Always looking forward to any time you're coming through Minnesota. If you're within a reasonable hour's drive, we've gone to Duluth, we've gone to Welch, we've gone to Hinckley just to hear you guys. If I've seen you guys usually twice a year since probably I was 20 and I'm 50 now, obviously I'm a huge fan. I really wish that I could have seen you and Joan Jett and Tesla. I would have loved to see you guys on that tour, but you didn't come through. The closest was Chicago, I think. We weren't able to get there to that, but I had the same feeling when you were doing the thing with Don Felder, and you did a date with Don Felder that was late this year, I think maybe in May. So I'm wondering, are we going to get another shot at hearing you guys with Joan Jett and or Tesla and or both?
I think it's quite possible. We really, really enjoyed touring with Joan, and of course, our background with Don Felder reaches back, and I know we're going to do a lot more work with him in future. We actually did a residency in Las Vegas earlier this year with him. I think it's highly likely. What happens a lot on these tours, Paladin, we might miss a section of the country. Sometimes we miss almost Canada entirely, which bugs me a bit. But usually there'll be some sort of reprise of that tour. Like it'll probably come up. I don't know if it's going to come up in 2019, but I think it's highly likely that the cities that we missed on the round this year with Joan, it'll be those cities that we go and play perhaps in the next couple of years with that same lineup, because it really worked well. The audience really loved it. We loved touring with her, so it would be great to have Don Felder and Joan Jett and Styx, or Tesla again would be great. They're a fantastic band. So these combinations, usually they will come around eventually, but thanks for coming out to the number of shows that you have over the years, and hopefully you'll see that combination at some point.
That'll be great. So again, December 30th, Treasure Island Casino, Welch, Minnesota. January 20th, if anybody feels like a road trip to warm Vegas, January should be fun. The Mission, top to bottom, and then an intermission in Styx Classics. The Styx website, styxworld.com, and then Gowan Official for your solo stuff on Facebook. Anything else, social media or website related that we should cover?
Oh, there's all kinds of Instagram nonsense that goes up there. For myself, it's just Gowan, Styx the band on the Instagram account. Any social media at all, we're out there. If you Google Styx, just do any kind of search for Styx, you're going to find the band. And for myself, it's either Lawrence Gowan, because that's the guy in Styx, or the one named Gowan Paladin combo for these interviews.
Cool. Well, I'm going to wrap up the interview, and I'll let you get on with your day. You can try on your various kilts. It'll be exciting. But what album was Criminal Mind originally on when you first released it?
Yes, Criminal Mind was originally on an album called Strange Animal. And I don't know if we talked about this before, but that really was, much like joining Styx, that was the other phenomenal, lucky thing that the stars were shining upon me on that day. Strange Animal was recorded in Ringo Starr's home studio in Ascot, England in 1984. It's in the house that Ringo bought from John Lennon in the 70s when John moved to America. And John Lennon recorded Imagine on much of the same gear and much of the same equipment that was in the studio. Is what we used when we made Strange Animal. So it was quite an experience. Ringo was there during the making of the record. He would come in periodically with great encouraging words. And it's a tremendous little piece of my own history to it been that close to where Imagine was made, and in a home that was occupied by two of the Beatles. So a really astounding thing. And there's something about that song, A Criminal Mind, that has just lasted for me and has never kind of let me down.
Cool. Well, I'm going to play it right now. Everybody, this is Lawrence Gowan of Styx. As a solo artist, he recorded this song. You can still hear it in the Styx set occasionally. It's A Criminal Mind right here on FM